Captain Talia Nexus strode anxiously along the pristine white command deck of the starship Valiant, her apprehension growing with each passing minute. Her husband, Commander Ragnar, was now 3 days overdue reporting in from his scouting mission on planet KL-4321. She had begged him not to go, to send someone else in his place, but Ragnar was stubborn and daring. He insisted that as first officer, it was his responsibility to lead such a risky mission personally. "I'll be fine, Talia," he had reassured her before departing in the shuttle Kepler. "It's just a quick survey of the southern continents. I'll be back before you know it." But Ragnar had not returned as scheduled. Talia knew in her gut that something had gone terribly wrong on the surface of that remote, hostile world. Planet KL-4321 was a rock half the size of Earth, covered in jagged mountain ranges, winding fjords, and dense forests. It harbored a vicious array of megafauna in its depths, armored dinosaurs as large as tanks, spider-like creatures the size of shuttles, flying reptiles with 20-foot wingspans. The Kepler was heavily reinforced, but not impenetrable. If one of those nightmarish beasts caught Ragnar by surprise, Talia shook the thought from her mind. She had to hold on to hope. The planet's strangely diffuse atmosphere and mineral deposits interfered with long-range sensors, but they had managed to briefly detect an emergency beacon on the southern continent. Surely Ragnar was still alive down there, signaling for help. But the Valiant was locked in a high orbit, its shuttles too small to penetrate the dangerous atmosphere solo. She needed a rescue team on the surface, immediately. Talia summoned Lieutenant Eric Rand and Ensign Bjorn Iverson to the bridge. The two men snapped to attention before her. Eric was the Valiant's chief of security, stocky and solemn with a tactician's mind. Bjorn was their best shuttle pilot, an ace among the younger officers. Both had served with Ragnar for years. "Commander Ragnar may be in grave danger on the planet's surface," she informed them without preamble. "I'm dispatching the two of you in the shuttle Tycho to search for him and provide assistance. This is a high-risk mission. That world is uncharted and teeming with threats, but we're going to bring Ragnar home. Understood?" "Yes, ma'am," they responded sharply. Talia could see the concern etching their faces, but also the steadfast loyalty and resolve. These men would succeed or die trying. Eric and Bjorn headed for the hangar bay to prep for immediate departure, while Talia retreated to the ship's small observatory room, seeking solace. She stood before the thick plexiglass viewport, gazing down at the ominous roiling clouds of KL-4321. Somewhere beneath that poisonous shroud, her husband was stranded and injured. Talia closed her eyes, allowing herself a moment of anguish. Was she sending those men to their deaths too? She steeled herself. No, Ragnar needed them, and they would come through. They had to, for all their sakes. No trace of her doubts could show when she returned to the bridge. The voyage ahead would be treacherous, but Talia was determined to hold the crew together. She would remain strong for Ragnar and the Valiant alike. Eric and Bjorn would succeed. Her husband would come home to her. The shuttle Tycho dropped through the roiling amber clouds of KL-4321, buffeted by dense atmosphere and howling winds. Inside, Bjorn gripped the controls, deftly adjusting their course while Eric monitored the sensor arrays. According to their readings, the emergency beacon lay just ahead amid a range of snow-capped mountains. There, Eric highlighted a faint blinking light on the nav display. Nestled at the base of a stony peak was the battered wreckage of the shuttle Kepler. Bjorn set the Tycho down on the rocky terrain and the two men disembarked, phase rifles in hand. The landscape was all soaring cliffs and plunging ravines, the sky a murky ochre. Eric tried raising Ragnar on the comms but got only static in response. He must be somewhere in these mountains, Eric said. Fan out and scan for signs of his trail. They tracked along the ridges, hollering Ragnar's name with no reply but the whispering wind. As time passed with no results, Bjorn grew more anxious. What if they were too late? Then his helmet sensors pinged. Human blood, 50 meters ahead. Scrambling over the craggy terrain, they discovered a small cave cut into the mountainside. Eric trained his wrist lamp inside. There lay Ragnar, crumpled and bloody but somehow still clinging to life. His torn uniform was caked with dried blood and purpling bruises covered his face and torso. Eric rushed to his side, grabbing for the medical kit. "Ragnar, can you hear me? What happened?" Eric carefully helped Ragnar sip some water as Bjorn administered first aid. Ragnar coughed, wincing in pain. "Was ambushed. Huge beast, like a dinosaur. Attacked the shuttle, tossed me around inside like a rag doll. Must have passed out when we crashed." His voice was a ragged whisper. "Knew you boys would come." Eric felt a swell of relief. Ragnar was battered but alive, and help had arrived in time. "We've got you now. Bjorn, get over here and help me carry him." With Ragnar supported between them, they began the arduous hike back to the shuttle. Eric tried raising the Tycho but got only static. Some mineral in the ridges must be interfering with comms. He hoped the shuttle's defenses would keep it secure until they returned. It took over an hour of grueling trekking before the Tycho finally came back into view, but as they approached, the ground began to shake with heavy footfalls. Eric's blood ran cold. Something was approaching, something big. 3 towering KL-Rexes emerged from behind the shuttle, each dinosaur easily the size of a small starship. Their armored hide was mottled red and black, razor teeth jutting from their jaws as long as a man's arm. One released an earth-shaking bellow and charged straight towards the humans. Eric and Bjorn lowered Ragnar to the ground, then stepped forward to meet the beasts head-on. They raised their phase rifles, took steady aim, and opened fire. Eric and Bjorn unleashed a barrage of phase rifle fire at the approaching KL-Rexes. Blue pulses of plasma pounded the enormous beasts, scorching their armored flesh. The dinosaurs released ear-splitting roars of agony, yet they did not slow their thunderous charge. At this range, the phase rifles could not punch through to vital organs. Eric and Bjorn had to hold the line and buy time. Backpedaling, they kept up their volley. Searing plasma struck the lead KL-Rex's face, obliterating one large eye in a burst of black gore. It bellowed in fury and pain but kept coming. Soon they would be overrun. "Fall back to the shuttle," Eric yelled. Laying down covering fire, they grabbed Ragnar and scrambled into the Tycho's open hatch. Bjorn rushed to the controls and sent the engines blazing to life. The shuttle lifted off just as the first KL-Rex slammed into it, jaws snapping viciously at the thrusters. Bjorn gunned them to full throttle, narrowly shooting above the beast's reach as its cohorts trampled the ground where they just stood. Within moments, the dinosaurs were left far below. Both men slumped back, breathing hard. Ragnar was still securely strapped into a seat, having slipped back into unconsciousness. For now, they were all safe. "Nice flying," Eric said. "Now let's get off this damned planet." Bjorn nodded and piloted them up through the atmosphere. But as the first stars emerged through the viewport, proximity alarms blared a new warning. "What now?" Eric rushed to check the sensor display. A pack of void sharks, at least 24, were converging on their position, circling like wolves. The black, elongated beasts were the size of fighter craft, endowed with rows of serrated teeth. "Shark Pack must have tracked our ion emissions," Bjorn said. "We've got to break through before they swarm us." Teeth gritted. Bjorn pushed the engines to their limit. The shuttle shot forward as the void sharks gave chase. Eric hurried to the rear turret and began firing the macer cannon in controlled bursts, picking off the beasts closest on their tail. But more kept coming, nipping at the shuttle's sides, their numbers barely dwindling. A glancing impact sent the shuttle into a spin. Bjorn fought the controls to pull them back on course. "I can't shake them, but we're almost there. The Valiant should be in range." As if on cue, lances of light fired past the viewport. The Valiant's plasma cannons were blasting apart the void sharks, opening up a path. Bjorn didn't waste the opportunity. He gunned the Tycho straight toward the starship's hangar bay. The remaining sharks stayed hot on their tail, but Bjorn timed it perfectly. He braked hard and flipped end over end so they could shoot into the hangar bay backwards. The void sharks careened past them, unable to change course rapidly in space. As the Tycho landed safely inside, autocannons obliterated the stragglers.